All right, here we are, guys. Welcome back to the channel or to the group if you're watching it from Facebook or school. If you're new here, my name is Joey Huber. I have owned my gym for the past 13 years. I have grown it from $0 to over $1 million in annual revenue. In the past 5 years, I have been working full time with gym owners, teaching them how to do the exact same thing themselves. And so, sales, right? In this video, I am going to show you how to close high ticket programs for long-term memberships, right? And I will preface this by saying that you can use some of these strategies and tactics to sell whatever the hell you want to sell at your gym, right? Um, but I work with a lot of gym owners that sell higher ticket services, meaning like transformation programs. And if you're like, what the hell is that? It is a combination, or it can be whatever you want it to be, but it involves some kind of coaching, right, with some kind of group training. And we blend those two things together so people can get the experience and the results that you might get working with a trainer, 3 times a week, but for the price of a group membership. So, like, I sell them at my gym. I started selling them at $300 a month. We call it $69 a week. You'll see that in the sale. Now I sell it at $400 a month. I call it $99 a week because it's pretty much the same buying decision. And I blend, one-on-one with group and nutrition and goal setting and tracking and accountability and all of these things. I mesh them into one singular, all-inclusive transformation program, and I sell it to somebody based off of the where they're at now and where they want to go. And I sell it in a prescriptive manner. So I'm not giving them options. And that's what you're going to see in this sale. I'm not saying like, hey, for $99 a month, you can get this. For $199, you can get this. For $299, guys, I'm a big believer that the people come to my gym because they don't even know what the hell they want, right? They just don't want to be fat. They just want to be in better shape, right? They come to me for the answers. Like, I can't ask them what they should do, right? What do you think you should do? They're like, dude, I don't know. You're the expert, right? So I tell them, I've worked with people for the past 10 years, right? I've helped so many people lose 40 pounds. And Mrs. Jones, like, I can absolutely help you accomplish this, but this is what it's going to look like. This is what we're going to need to do, right? And so my whole sale is set up around selling a singular transformation program. And my job during the sale is to identify the length of program that makes the most sense for Mrs. Jones, and then which coach I'm going to put her with, and really how they're going to get the best client experience so they stay and refer, right? Before I can do any of that, I need to get the close, right? Which means I need to build rapport, I need to do things, right? And so I'm going to teach you what I've done, and you can imagine how many of these I've done thousands of these sales, right? And they go the same way every single time, right? And so I have a 4-step process on how I close my leads. And maybe you've been in other sales training before. There's no freaking like right or wrong when it comes to how to sell somebody's shit, right? It's literally just like, how do you arrange your words, right? It can be whatever you want it to be. I like the way that I sell for one reason. It does not require the individual who's selling to be very good at sales, right? And in the gym owners that I work with in my gym, I knew that I didn't want to be in sales my entire life. Meaning that if the gym was only successful if I was selling, that wasn't my goal, right? And so some other sales training that you could watch will make you a very good salesperson. And it'll teach you, closer formulas, and it'll teach you objection overcomes, and it'll teach you how to, tie, their goals with what you do, and then create this kind of epiphany bridge, and all of these different methods and strategies. And they're not wrong, right? But what a lot of them do is they will sharpen the skills of the individual selling instead of creating a more simplistic sales system. So this is very much so a sales system that with minimal training, anybody in your gym can pick it up, learn it, and close long-term high-ticket training, right? And I needed that. I needed that for my goals at my gym, right? And so I'm going to share that system with you. I'm going to show you what we use as we go through the sale. I use 3 things always, right? I use a sales form so I don't get lost, right? Not a script, a form. We are not scripting this, we are systemizing it. Number two, I use a body fat percentage chart, and I'll show you exactly why I use it. It comes in so handy as part of the sale. And number three, the contract. The contract that I use is actually part of the sale, right? It is not after the sale, it's part of the sale. And so you'll see how I leverage that. Now, if you are watching this from the school community, fuck it. I'm gonna drop these in all of the channels. So if you're watching it from YouTube, school, Facebook, whatever, I'm gonna drop these resources so you can just slap your logo on them, print them off, and try this sale yourself. And I can almost guarantee that you'll close higher, right? And so let's get started. Let's get freaking started. I'm gonna try to get through this, guys, as quick as I can without like. Nobody likes to watch long videos, right? But if this long video could make you a shitload of money, then it's probably worth it. I mean, even if you only close 10% more of what you're closing now on a 10% higher ticket, I mean, take that over the course of 12 months. It's probably tens of thousands of dollars, at least if you're selling what I'm selling. Can you apply this to lower ticket memberships? Sure, of course, right? But I just think you're leaving money on the table because this sale will allow you, if you have this service category, to sell somebody more by kind of breaking down what they've done in the past and why maybe it didn't work. So the first thing I'm going to show you guys is this is the sales form. Okay, let me get it over here. So you'll see it has 4 steps to it. Well, 4 steps, and 3 of them are where we're writing. You can see on the top here, it says goals, right? So on this step 1, my job is to get down to the bottom arrow. So what I do, guys, is I will ask, so let me start off before I sit down and talk with them, right? I always set expectations. I always set the expectations of what we're going to be doing because that disarms people, right? They're nervous, right? Somebody coming to the gym for the first time, maybe hasn't been to the gym in a decade, and they're like super worried about like, is this dude gonna take me through a workout? It doesn't even really matter what you say in your lead nurture. Like we call it a no sweat intro. People still think they might be doing a workout and they come ready to, dressed to work out. And I'm like, no, we're not. They don't listen. They're just nervous, right? And so I like to set them at ease. So here's what I do. I have a little bench in my front area, and I ask them to just go ahead and take a seat and fill out this piece of paper, right? And I have them fill out a questionnaire. Really, guys, all this is doing is explaining more about what we do, right? And while they're sitting down, and I always let them know, like, hey, thanks for coming. Super excited to meet with you. If you could just fill this out really quick, I got to wrap something up and I'll be right back out here, right? What I'm doing is I'm putting them in my environment to absorb. I know it only takes them 2 minutes to fill out this form, but they're inside of my environment for 5 minutes because I wait that long. And what do they do when they look around? They're looking at, in front of them's a TV with not a slideshow, but like a video of, people having a ton of fun training at my gym. Oh, they look to this side and they see a whole wall of my coaches and what they're experts at and how many people they've helped. Oh, they turn to the right. What do they see? They see a whole wall of testimonials and before and afters and people that are on our Hall of Fame and all this kind of stuff. And immediately they know, like, holy cow, this place is different. And maybe you're not the first gym that they went to, right? How does the first gym start their experience? Okay, come on in, Mrs. Jones. Let me give you a tour of the gym. Like, immediately it changes the entire structure of the sale when you're focused on your amenities and you're focused on what you do in your gym, and you didn't even ask them any questions about their goals. You're literally just saying, this is my open gym area, this is my weight rack, this is, and they're like, that's cool. Meanwhile, they have no fucking idea how to use any of it. They don't even know if it's going to be beneficial to them, right? And you're not talking about them at all, right? What they want to do is solve their goals, man. They're not coming to the gym because working out's fun. They're coming to the gym because they hate how they look when they wake up in the morning and how their clothes fit and how unmotivated they are and how non-confident they are. They got to get rid of it. And they're at the point now where they're ready to do something about it. So they want to sit down and be confident that the person sitting across from them is going to help them accomplish that. Meanwhile, you're taking them around and these are our locker rooms. And guys, so if that is going to be the narrative, you're already going to, put yourself at a disadvantage to another gym that they may or may not have went to that is going to do it like I do it, right? And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to sit down, we're going to have them fill this out. And again, they're answering questions like, what are your goals? And, how long has it been since you've tried to reach these goals? And what kind of things have you tried in the past? What did you like about those things? And what didn't you like about those things? What kind of training are you interested in? And they might put personal training, they might put group training, they might say, I don't know. They might, you know what I mean? And this is all very valuable data because now, number one, they're getting the understanding like, holy cow, this gym does a lot of stuff. They just listed 8 different things. Are you interested in nutritional stuff? Are you interested in goal setting and tracking? Are you interested in high performance mindset coaching? Are you interested in, recovery? And so all of a sudden they're like, wow, this place must do a lot of things if there's all these boxes to check. Most people check like, I would just like, the best program based on my goals recommended to me, right? Okay, so now they've absorbed all this stuff. Man, they're pumped, they're primed, they're ready to sit down and talk, and they feel like they're in the right place, right? Because it's surrounded by people that look just like them. Anyways, I come grab them, and I introduce myself, and then we sit down, and I set expectations. So I'm like, all right, Mrs. Jones, what we're going to do today is we're going to sit down in my office. We're going to talk a little bit about your goals. We'll talk a little bit about our programs, and if it turns out that, our programs can help you reach your goals, we'll talk about what that looks like. Sound fair enough? Right? And it's a very easy kind of intro. We go into the office, we sit down, and I immediately start with the icebreaker, right? This is my, 60-second like intro story, right? Where I basically say the same thing every time, I start off by saying like, hey, I'm going to ask you some questions if that's cool about your goals and about, yourself. But I figured, before I just dig deep into you, like maybe you want to hear a little bit more about, me and how we ended up talking today. And they're like, of course, and I'm like, okay, cool. So my name is Joey. And, I've owned this gym now for 13 years. And I actually got into fitness, 15 years ago when I was in the Army and failed my first PT test, right? And I realized there was a whole different way that I needed to train people. And I started doing that within the Army. And cool thing is I got promoted to PT sergeant and I was able to help a whole bunch of soldiers, transform their lives. And I knew it was more than just workouts because we were all doing the same workouts and some people got in amazing shape and some didn't, right? And so, fast forward 6 years, I'm getting out of the Army thinking about, man, what should I do? And I opened my first gym and applied those exact same principles, wildly different than what any other gym was doing. I think maybe because they didn't have the Army background. But anyways, I applied that and it was crazy the kind of results that people were now, they were kind of getting like military training without knowing it, but I really softened the blow and made it a ton of fun, right? And so our soldiers are in amazing shape. We're applying those principles to our gym here and our members get in amazing shape. And this gym is so fun to be at. And I'm glad that you could join today, And so I have this 60 to 90 second, icebreaker, story that I use. And now they're much more comfortable to share about themselves. And I say, okay, so tell me about yourself. Like what brought you in here today? Right. And I start off with that. And again, I'm trying to get down to these goals. I'm trying to get down to the bottom. So maybe the first thing they say is, well, I'd like to lose weight. It's like, cool. All right, I'm going to write that down, lose weight. But is that too surface level for me to be able to bring some emotion? Right. And so in box number 1 and step number 1, guys, the whole point is to bring emotion. People purchase based on an emotional feeling that they get, right? They don't purchase based on logic. This is not something that I made up. This is, thousands, probably millions of hours of human behavior studied specifically in sales and what gets people to buy, right? And it's emotion. It's how it makes them feel in the moment, in the future. Why does somebody buy a freaking Maserati instead of a Toyota? Not because, it will logically help them get to point A better than point B. Guys, they buy it because of how they feel when they wake up in the morning, look out their driveway and see that fucking thing sitting there. They buy it because how they feel when they pull up next to a Toyota at the red light and how it makes them feel. That's why they buy it, right? And it's an emotional purchase. Same thing with any kind of purchase, right? It's going to either move them closer to pleasure or farther away from pain. I think in the fitness space, it's farther away from pain. So we got to dig into that, okay? And so I said, okay, you want to lose weight? Well, what makes you want to lose weight now versus maybe, coming in here 6 months ago or, 6 months from now? And they might give me some more specific, I got a wedding coming up and, I want to make sure I'm in amazing shape for that. And I'm like, cool. So why, you want to be in amazing shape for the wedding coming up? Is it your wedding? Right. And so what I'm doing is I'm doing a lot of mirroring and asking why, and I might alternate. So when I ask why, that allows me for them to elaborate. Right. but I don't want to ask why. Some sales coaches will be like, "Hey, you need to keep asking why until you get down to the final." But it kind of sounds weird. I mean, I understand the principle, but have you been in one of those sales and done that? Oh, I'd like to get in better shape. Why is that? Well, because I want to lose some pounds. Well, why is that? Well, because I feel like I weigh too much. Well, why is that? And all of a sudden, like, it's just becoming weird. So I mirror, right? And I say, oh, okay, yeah, okay, so you want to lose some pounds. And yeah, I want to lose some pounds because I'd love to fit into a size 6 dress. Oh, size 6. Okay, why is that? Right? Oh, well, because, I'm normally in like a size 8, but I really, for the wedding coming up. Oh, is it your wedding? No, it's my sister's wedding. Okay, so why is that important? And they're like, oh, well, I've always been the biggest sister, right? And for fucking once, I would love to not be the biggest sister in all these pictures. I'd love to be in amazing shape. Okay, cool. Right. And so for me, I'm now down to the bottom. I've written down 7 things. Right. So now I know in 6 months, we got to lose this amount of weight, or I don't maybe know the number yet. Maybe I do, but I know that we got to get this done. And this is why. Right. And there's some, I've stirred up some emotion in that. Like, how does it feel like, if you don't mind me asking, like always being the biggest in all the pictures? Right. And right here, guys, if you're uncomfortable asking questions like that, high ticket sales is going to be tough for you because we need to sit in the pain a little bit, right? Because if they don't think that their problem is very big, then you're not going to be able to present a very big solution, right? And so we need to let them know that, man, it really does kind of not feel very good, all right? And so anyways, that's step 1. When you feel like you've gotten to the bottom, then you always ask the question like, okay, cool. I mean, I got this. This is man, I feel like I have a good understanding of, and I reiterate everything. I reiterate everything that they said because that lets them know that I'm listening and that I do understand exactly why they're here. If they feel like you just don't get it, and if you're not really sure, they're not going to buy shit. Right. So then I reiterate it and I say, okay, these goals are amazing, but like, I'm sure you have other goals in life. Right. So let's just say on a scale of 1 to 10, right? Like, how important is it for you to reach these goals? And guys, you will almost always get like a 9 or a 10, always. Right. So I write that down, 9 or 10, and I circle it. And I do that because I'm going to come back to it. I'm going to come back to it if there's an objection. So, well, I'm not really sure or whatever, which objections are going to happen, guys, every time pretty much. I'm going to come back to it and use that as fuel, right? So now I'm on step 2. I feel good. I did my number. I got everything here. I'm like, cool. So, what are you doing right now to try to solve, this goal that you have, right? And they might probably say nothing. That's usually what people say. They're probably not like, well, I'm at CrossFit 3 days a week and they're pretty much doing nothing. It's like, okay, cool. Well, that's good and that's bad, right? The good part about that is that, when you start doing this stuff, you'll probably see, amazing results. Right. The bad thing is that, we're probably going to have to get out of our comfort zone a little bit in order to make some changes. Is that something that you're willing to do? Right. And so now we're getting another affirmation that, yes, I'm willing to try something new. I'm ready to try. Okay. So before we get into talking about that, maybe you've done some of this stuff in the past. So like, what are some of the things that you've tried in the past to get in better shape? Right. And so that's step number 2. Past struggles and experiences. Now, this is going to help us in a couple ways. Number 1, it's going to give you some kind of an idea on, as a coach, how comfortable they are in the fitness world, right? And so imagine the difference between someone writing, I've done nothing before, or writing, or they're not writing, you're writing it, but you write like, okay, I've done a 6-week challenge. Okay, I've done personal training for a year. Okay, I've done group training at F45 for, 6 months. And they've done all of these different things. Number 1, this isn't their first rodeo, right? Number 2, they probably aren't going to be incredibly sticker shocked if they've done personal training 3 times a week for a fucking year, right? And so that should help you be a little bit more confident in the sale. Now, if they haven't done anything, they might be a little bit shocked at a high ticket presentation, but your job is to articulate to them why they need all of these things. And so it makes sense, right? So anyways, we're going to write down as many things as we can under the past experiences. And this is going to be giving you information that you need so you can help close them, and what I love to ask is, what did you like about that? And what did you not like about that? Right? Because what they liked about it is exactly what you need to say for them to close. Right? And so if they're like, I really loved the accountability. I really loved the workouts. I really loved, that we mixed a lot of cardio in. I really loved, I'm going to listen to that and I'm going to use a lot of that stuff when I'm presenting my solution to their problem. And they're going to be like, man, I like all that stuff. It's like, yeah, man, because you just told me that 20 minutes ago. Right. And so that's what we're going to write down here and circle the stuff that you think is important that you want to come back to. Now, we're going to take a little break from this sheet. And I say, okay, Mrs. Jones, I have a really good idea of where you're at now. I'm sorry, Mrs. Jones, I have a really good idea of where you want to go, right? And I have a really good idea of what you've done before to get there. But for me to be able to recommend the right kind of a program for you, if it's something we can even do. And I always come back to that because I don't want to make them feel like I'm just here to sell anybody. It really does have to be a match. So if we can even do this for you, I got to get a good idea of where you're at now. So if you wouldn't mind, I want to jump on the scale really quick. I want to grab your weight. I want to grab your body fat percentage. And that way I can let you know if this is something we can help you with and about how long it might take. Does that sound fair enough? Right. And so I always use, one of the lowest hanging affirmations I can. Is that fair enough? Does that sound reasonable? Right. Because no one's going to be like, that's not fair. Or no, that sounds unreasonable. They're going to be like, sure, let's go. Right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take them over to the scale, guys. This part works amazing. I'm going to take them over to the scale. You got to have a way of measuring body fat percentage. If you don't have it, go out and get a little handheld Omron. You know what I mean? Otherwise, we use an InBody. You can use whatever you want. But the key is body fat percentage because people, they probably know what they weigh, but they probably have no idea at all what their body fat percentage is. And that number is so cut and dry. It's why I don't like BMI, because BMI is super open for interpretation, right? It's like, well, I have dense bones. And it's like, no. Or like, I think I have a lot of muscle in here and that's why I weigh so much. And it's like, well, how about X percentage of your body is fat, right? That number doesn't lie. Okay. And so I get the weight and I get the body fat percentage. And then I break out this guy right here. And this is my body fat percentage chart, guys, right? And there's different categories for male and female, right? And what I do is I will circle, say they're at 37% body fat for a 40-year-old woman, 37%. I'm going to circle high risk and I'm going to say, hey, you're here. Our goal is to get you to 27%. So I'm going to go ahead and write a goal on my sheet that is dropping 10% in body fat. Is that cool? Because that'll get you really in the acceptable range, because we don't want you associated with, and then I fucking read these one at a time, whoops, here we go. Type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart disease, osteoarthritis on weight-bearing joints, sleep apnea, depression, infertility, hypertension. I read all of those and I say, those, I'm not saying you have any of those, Mrs. Jones. I'm saying that you'll be more at risk for these things if you're in the high-risk category like you are now. Chances are she probably has one or two of those things, right? And so these are things that we can relieve. And what I do is I circle it, then I draw the line and I take this off the clipboard and I give it to her. Right. And that's an important piece. It's like, hey, I have a stack of 100 of those sitting next to my scale. Right. So I can give it to her. Like, let's say you have one of them and you laminate it and you put it next to your scale and you just use it as a visual aid. Well, now you can't assign that problem to her. I want to assign a problem to her. Right. Because maybe she didn't come in here thinking that she has a big problem. Right. And I'm not here to give people new problems. Listen, I'm just the messenger, right? If you're at 37% body fat, I didn't do that, right? I'm just the messenger, right? And so here, take this. I don't need it. I have 50 of them right here. Now they're going to have to go home with a piece of paper that says that they're in a high risk category for body fat percentage. And if they weren't trying to find a real solution before, they're going to try to find one now. And why not just go back to the place that has the solution? Look, the more clearly you can articulate the problems that they're going through right now, the more that they're going to assume that you have the solution. So if you're the one that presented the high body fat percentage problem to them, then they're probably going to assume that you can fix it, right? And so I give this to them, and now they can, whether they leave my gym with a membership or not, they're leaving with this thing, okay? And so what I do is I come back in the office and then I write those numbers up here on my sheet. I got their name, their weight, and their body fat percentage. I write those up here because if I make the close, I'm going to be handing this sheet to the trainer they're going to be working with, right? So I say, hey, Mrs. Jones, I got a good understanding of where you're at now and where you want to go. One thing that we do here at Body by Design is we're holistic, meaning that we're trying to really help people improve their quality of life, right? That's our mission here, right? Not just lose a couple pounds, but improve the quality of life. And if you don't mind, I like to do this because it helps me make sure that we're accomplishing that mission. We call it a wellness wheel, right? And so I like to take people through 8 questions. You just rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. That's it, right? Is that something that we can do right now? And they'll be like, of course. This thing is money, guys. It's money. Okay. Mrs. Jones, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate your medical health? Like, what would your doctor say if I asked your doctor, like, how medically sound is Mrs. Jones, right? And you can see. Can you see? Can we zoom in? There you go. Those aren't dots, guys. Those are numbers. And we draw a little dot over the number, okay? And then we move on. Okay, how is your relationship with your significant other? Or are you looking to get into a relationship, right? And then they do a dot. And then I go into how's family and friendships? And how's your financial health, right? And that has nothing to do with being in shape, or maybe it does, right? But it gives you an indicator of how well they're doing in that area of their life. What about your body image and confidence, right? Like when you look at yourself in the mirror, scale of 1 to 10, like, I mean, are you like, man, I need to do some work? Or I'm like, damn, I'm fine. Like, how do you, and as fun as you can make this, that's building rapport, guys, right? Fitness and ability. Can you physically do whatever the hell you want to do, right? If you want to go, play basketball, if you want to, are you limited at all by your physicality? And 1 to 10, right? Next, fun, hobbies, social life. This will give you a good indicator if they're just fucking living it up and partying and getting crazy, and they're putting a lot of their priorities there. And then the last one, it says spirituality. That's how I originally wrote it, but since I've changed it and I write motivation. How motivated are you? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, when you wake up, are you just fucking ready to kick ass? And so I draw these lines and I connect them. And guys, what it almost always looks like, let's get this in focus here. There we go. It's just like all over the place, right? It's like boom, 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 boom. And it's not a very straight circle. It's not very round, right? And I tell people, listen, what we've found over the past 10 years, and you can say however many years you've been in business, is that the more well-rounded people are, the happier they are. And again, our mission is to help people improve their quality of life, make them happy, right? And so let's just do this really quick one more time, right? Only this time, I want you to imagine that you are 40 pounds lighter. I want you to imagine that you are in that size 4 wedding dress or bridesmaid dress. I want you to imagine that you are in the best shape of your life, right? Now, what would your doctor say to me then, right? Oh, that'd be a 9 out of a 10. Okay. What would your husband say? How happy would he be with the relationship? Right? Maybe that doesn't go up. Maybe it does. Right? What about financial? Well, I don't know. I think if I was in the best shape of my life, I'd get that goddamn promotion they gave to John, What about your body image and confidence? Oh, that'd go way up. I mean, sheesh. If I was 40 pounds lighter, oh my God, I could fit in the clothes that I could fit in high school. That's amazing. What about your fitness and your ability? I could probably do whatever I wanted. And now all of a sudden, guys, Mrs. Jones is realizing like, holy shit, this is going to affect my whole life. This is going to affect every single aspect of my life. This isn't just some fitness membership, right? This is way more than I thought it was going to be. Like if I can get into the best shape of my life, oh my God, all this stuff is true. Holy cow, right? And so we draw that out for them on paper because sometimes people just need to see it, right? And this is a very easy, objective way to do it. Okay, so then we get to the last point of the sale, and this is where you recommend. And here's what you say. You say, all right, Mrs. Jones, I think I have a great understanding of where you want to go and where you're at now. And if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to tell you, what my plan would be for you, right? And she'd be like, okay, cool. Like, okay, here's what I would do if I was trying to get into this shape in this time frame. Number one, I'd need a coach, right? I would need some level of coaching. I don't know about you, but for me, it's really difficult for me to hold myself accountable 24/7, 7 days a week, right? And so we need some level of coaching here. Now, I'm not saying 3 days a week or anything like. I think we get started with once a week. I think we meet with Coach John once a week, and Coach John is really going to help you make sure that we're doing all the other aspects that I'm going to talk about in a second here, okay? But that once a week, that's your coach, right? On top of that, I think that we need to train 3 days a week here, right? And it's because we need to burn a lot of calories based on your goals, right? And so we need to work out 3 times a week in our boot camp classes. On top of that, we need nutrition, right? We need to follow some kind of a nutritional plan, right? We can't just work out really hard and hit the drive-through on the way home. Meanwhile, like she's shaking her head. Yep, you're right, you're right, you're right. On top of that, we're gonna have to give you some homework to do because 3 days a week working out is great, but what about the other 23 hours out of the day? The other 4 days out of the week, right? We need to burn calories and do things. You said your back hurts a little bit. We're going to give you some homework to stretch out some of those tight muscles and maybe do some steady state cardio and some walking on your non-training days to make sure that we're burning a lot of calories and keeping you in that burning zone, right? And you can put in whatever you believe. You know what I mean? Like I'm just saying what we might do. Okay, on top of that, I think that we're gonna need to set and track goals on a weekly basis. That way we're not hitting any plateaus. So that body fat percentage chart or the body fat tracker that we just used, right? The body analysis. We're gonna jump on that once a week, right? And we're gonna see how this drops. That way we can make sure that we're just losing fat and we're not losing the hard muscle that we're working every single week to gain and maintain, right? And that way when you lose the 40 pounds, you look exactly like you want to look. You don't look like just a skinnier version of right now. You know what I mean? And so we have all of these aspects. I'm going to give you some other really cool stuff like some, meal prep hacks and all these other cool things that come with the program. But largely, I think that we need to do this for about 26 weeks, right? And here's how I got to that number, which is about 6 months. The first month, right? Let's call it the first 30 days, right? I think that's going to be what we call the conditioning phase. Right now you're a little bit deconditioned, okay? Meaning that you are probably going to get tired, in the first, few weeks worth of the workouts. You're going to be a little bit sore. We need to get your body conditioned, right? And you're probably not eating the greatest like right now, right? Guilty. Okay, cool. So the first month is going to be the conditioning phase. Now the next 4 months, that's where we'll call it the results phase. That's really where you're going to lose the weight, right? Probably about 10 pounds, per month. Okay, so that's our 40 pounds. But we need 30 more days to make sure that it sticks, that it doesn't, you don't want to go right back to where you started, right? No, of course not. That'd be horrible. Okay, so that's how we got to, 6 months, right? And the coolest thing is we're not going to charge you $149 a week like it might be over at LA Fitness to work with a trainer 3 times or go to their gym 3 times a week. Mrs. Jones, this entire transformation program, which by the way, I think you're an excellent candidate for, is only $69 a week, right? That's it. Right? And the coolest thing is that I'm going to cover your first week. I'm going to give you the first week on the house just to make sure it's a perfect fit with Coach John. And after that, it's only going to be $69 a week for the remaining 25 weeks of the program. Does that sound fair enough? You ready to get started? Right? And so what I did there was, and you don't have to use a free 7-day trial as a anchor, but I do because I think that it really locks in the sale. And of course, they're not going to get 7 days for free. It's contingent. It's contingent on the acceptance of this long-term program. It's like Netflix, right? You put in your credit card information and all of a sudden you're going to get billed in 7 days unless you cancel it. But people love Netflix and they don't cancel. Same thing with my program. 95% of everybody stays, right? Because all you have to do is deliver on what you just said you could deliver on. That's it. Right? And so it takes away all the risk from them and they agree to what is now a $300 a month program. And the $69 a week is so easy to overcome objections with. It's the cost of one dinner going out. It's the cost of drinking Starbucks every morning. Mrs. Jones, especially during the conditioning phase, we're going to be removing some of that stuff to get you towards what you just said was a 9 or a 10. On a scale of 1 to 10, how important is Starbucks every morning for you? 6, 7. Okay. Well, we can easily swap that out with your 9 or a 10, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, how important is that extra, going out to, Applebee's or something once a week? Well, we really enjoy doing that. That's like a 7 or an 8. Okay, cool. But it's not a 9 or a 10. And you just told me that this was a 9 or a 10. I'm not asking you to spend more money. I'm asking you to just put it somewhere else, at least just for the conditioning phase, right? And so it's very easy to overcome objections at that price point and relating it to weekly cost. Right? And so that's how you go through the close. You give them the first week in the house and you ask them, does that sound fair enough? Right? And so it's very easy for them to say, sure. Right? And then you immediately go to the contract immediately. Now, if you get objections, guys, that's just part of sales. right? Let's say sales is a 10-step process. Step 1 is building rapport. Step number 2 is the goals. Step number 3 is the past struggle. Step number 4 is the weigh-in. And you get what I'm saying. Guys, step number 7 is the objection, right? Expect it every single time. If you get thrown off when you get an objection, then you shouldn't be in sales, because it's going to happen every single time. Now, if it doesn't happen, it's like, awesome, I get to skip step number 7, right? But expect it to come and expect what your responses are going to be for it, right? And so step number 7 is the objection. Step number 8 is the objection overcome. Step number 9 is re-asking them. So after you overcome an objection, then you ask again and you say, hey, are we ready to get started? After you've overcome that objection, right? And so the best salespeople make the most asks. And every single time you overcome an objection, you ask again, ask for the sale again. Okay, are we ready to get started? And so step number 10 is the contract. So let's say that we blasted through those and now we're into the contract. This is how we get paid in fulls, guys, right? This is how we do it. And I kind of filled this out in advance a little bit. But as you can see, I passed this over and I say, can you go ahead and just fill out the information that's in the right while I pull up the calendar of Coach John, or fill out the information that's in the red while I pull up the calendar for Coach John, and I'll get you guys set up for your first meeting, right? Or your first workout, your first blueprint, whatever. What they're filling out is their payment information, right? That's what they're filling out. Now, again, I get it. Maybe you have to put something into a CRM. Maybe you have to put something into a tablet. Maybe you have to do your memberships on MindBody. I get it. Transfer it from this sheet and put it into it. It'll take you 3 minutes. This will help you close higher ticket programs and get paid in fulls. Your tablet's not going to do that, right? And so I have them fill this out up here, then they pass it back to me. And I say, cool, right? On the left-hand side here, I have the weekly options, right? So we're going to be training once a week with Coach John, 3 times a week in the boot camp, right? We're going to be doing 26 weeks for your program, $69 a week, and your first payment day is going to be on 10/17. That's 7 days from today. Does that work? Okay, cool, right? Now, on the right-hand side, I have the same thing once a week, 3 times a week in the group, 26-week program. It's $69 a week, and the total program price is $17.94. Now, I'm going to give you a 10% commitment discount, right? When you commit to us, we commit back to you by giving you a discount, which means that the total program price for this is only going to be $16.14, right? That's your entire transformation. Okay, so go ahead and sign for whichever one makes more sense for you. Most people do the commitment discount, but it's totally up to you. And you just pass it over and you shut up. That's it, right? They know what you're asking them. And 1 out of 4 people sign for the commitment discount, guys, right? A $1,600 program, boom, just like that. And it happens all the time, all the freaking time, because you can't lose the sale, right? They just pick one of the options. And so now I do this at $99 a week because I've done so many of these sales that I've realized it's literally like the same buying decision. I might close 10% less, but just do the math. 10% less at, $30 more per sale per week is way, way more profitable, right? And so I say the exact same thing that I just went through, but I switch out and it's only $69 a week and it's only $99 a week. Right? And I can tie that to a bunch of stuff, right? And so you'll just fill that out and it turns this from a $1,600 sale into a $2,400 sale, right? Pretty cool. So anyways, guys, I do this every single time and I can downsell from here. I can upsell from here. I'm not going to talk about how to do that in this training video, but there's a lot of ways that you can overcome objections, upsell and downsell after you go through the pitch and the close. So the pitch, guys, just to give you an example, the pitch is the program recommendations. That's what you're pitching, right? The close is when you transition from the pitch into asking them for money, right? So that's when you transfer into, and we're going to do all of this for you for only $69 a week, right? And the coolest thing is that the first 7 days are on the house just to make sure it's a perfect fit. That's the close. Does that sound fair enough? So you're not closing until you bring up money, okay? So the whole time until you say the money, you're just pitching. You're just selling, right? And we don't need salespeople at our gyms. We need closers, right? So you could have a beautiful presentation. But if you fuck up every single time you bring up money and you can't overcome objections and you can't ask people for big, you're not a closer. You know what I mean? You don't close deals. You might be great at the presentation and people love you and they leave with a big old smile on their face, but they're not giving you their credit card, right? And we need to be able to capitalize on this because this is really what is best for her. And I always tell my trainers, my coaches, my whoever, look, it's not your job to make people's buying decisions for them. If they tell you what their goals are, it is your job to present whatever we have here at our gym to help them get there the most effectively, the most efficiently, and the most enjoyably, right? So listen to them, identify what we do as a business, right? And give them everything that could help them closer there faster or more enjoyably. Now, if it happens to be everything because you believe that's exactly what will reach them, get them there, then let them make the buying decision, not you. Right? So present it. Your job is to present it, right? And so anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap up this live with that. If you want to use these resources, they're going to be in the description of the video, no matter what platform you're on. Click on them, print them off, slap your logo on them, and use them. Feel free to share this training with your salespeople or your coaches, or watch it yourself and practice it. And it works so good. You'll see how easy it is, and you'll close so many people on your transformation program, whatever version that is, right? And so I hope you guys crush it. If you like this and you enjoy the way that I like to teach this stuff, and you think it's aligned with how you want your gym to run, guys, just visit thefbu.com, www.thefbu.com. I have 14 different trainings that are completely free there, right? And you can click on them and you can watch them just like we went over today. They all come with resources, and it'll help you just do better at your gym. So I appreciate you guys. Thanks. I know it's Friday. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to tune in and watch me. Hopefully I was able to provide some value, and you can take this back to your gym, kick some ass, and make some big high ticket sales. We're out of here.